Welcome to another change-making conversation from Baptist News Global. You're listening to a special podcast series titled Highest Power, Church and State, featuring writer, poet, and musician Rick Pidcock. Now here's Rick.
Show me what democracy looks like.
This is what democracy looks like.
Show me what democracy looks like.
This is what democracy looks like.
Millions of Americans all over the nation gathered at protests on Saturday for No King's Day in order to voice their dissent against the policies and actions of the Trump administration. Estimates say that around 5 million people participated at approximately 2,000 different locations. Many of the events were organized by a group called Indivisible in partnership with other organizations with a variety of interests. Some of the sponsors were science-related, including such groups as the Center for Biological Diversity or the Center for Science in the Public Interest. Other sponsors were focused on legal concerns, such as the ACLU. There were economy-focused groups like Americans for Financial Reform or Americans for Tax Fairness, health and medicine-focused groups like Physicians for Social Responsibility or Physicians for a National Health Program. Some of the groups focused on religious supremacy, such as the American Humanist Association, Freedom from Religion Foundation, and People for the American Way. And there were also events sponsored by religious organizations such as Catholics Vote Common Good, Bend the Arc Jewish Action, Faithful America, or the Kairos Center for Religious Rights and Social Justice. Of course, there were occasionally skirmishes, including anarchists, and one person trying to cause problems at one location was a Proud Boy member. But the point is that the people behind the No Kings event were highly respectable organizations from a variety of backgrounds. According to the right, however, they were simply leftist perpetrators of violence. Here's Christian supremacist worship leader Sean Foyt.
Today's June 14th, and you know all over America there's this talk of this No Kings protest, a day of violence and mayhem where they're stirring up strife across America. But today
He says it's a day of violence and mayhem where protesters are stirring up strife. Of course, there's no reflection on Trump's role in all this, or in Christian nationalist worship leaders' role in all this, as they perform targeted spiritual warfare campaigns using worship as a weapon to blow away and scatter their supposed enemies. Instead of welcoming the dialogue and dissent that should be present in a democracy, Trump issued threats of force.
And we're going to be celebrating big on Saturday. We're going to have a lot of, and if there's any protester wants to come out, they will be met with very big force. By the way, for those people that want to protest, they're going to be met with very big force. And I haven't even heard about a protest, but, you know, this is people that hate our country, but they will be met with very heavy force.
According to Trump, the protesters deserve to be hit with a very heavy force because they are people who hate our country. So I attended one of these No Kings protests on Saturday morning at Unity Park in Greenville, South Carolina. Here are some of the sounds of those people Trump says hate our country.
Oh, the land of the free and the home of the brave. Don't worry about a thing. 'Cause every little thing is gonna be alright. Oh, and I don't want to die for you, but if dying's asking me, I'll bear that cross with honor. 'Cause freedom don't come free. I'm an American soldier, an American. This country roads take me home to the place I belong, West Virginia. Mountain Mama, take me home, country home.
And regarding the accusations that the protesters are stirring up strife, here's how the event I attended started.
Good morning, everyone. Welcome to Unity Park. I am Todd. I am your safety marshal for the Greenville Progressive Coalition in this event. I am in direct contact with law enforcement here, so this will be a very safe event. No violence at all will be tolerated from either sides.
So the safety team is wearing these yellow vests. If there's any issues, contact a volunteer or the safety team. They will get a hold of me, and I will get a hold of the police. That's how it's going to work.
The organizer went on to describe not only who to talk to if any altercations take place, but they told everyone who had flags to leave their flagpoles with the police. They talked through a plan to have everyone sit in the grass in case anyone causes trouble so the police can easily identify the troublemakers and remove them. And of course, like millions of protesters all around the nation, nothing happened other than some singing, dancing, chanting, and speeches. To give you a taste of what was covered in these speeches, I'm going to play 2 of the speeches at the event I attended in their entirety.
Good morning, the United States. I said, good morning, United States. Thank you. When soldiers raise their right hand and swear an oath, it is not just a pledge to serve, it is a vow to uphold the very foundation of this nation, which is the Constitution of the United States. Today, I want to take a moment to reflect on the roots of our military and of the oath of service, and how the Constitution, especially the rights of due process and equal protection, guides and defends everyone. Some of you may know this, but I do solemnly swear that I will support and defend the Constitution of the United States of America against enemies, foreign and domestic. The oath reflects a commitment, not just to a person or to an entity, but to the principles enshrined in our Constitution. In 1775, on this day in 1775, when the Continental Congress was formed, they formed the Continental Army during the American Revolution. It was not until 1784 before the U.S. Army was formed. So I'll see you all again in 9 years, right? From 1775 until today, all U.S. service members have protected not only the borders, but also the freedoms of the Constitution of the United States. See a theme here? It is the United States, not just make America great again, it's make the United States great again. The Fifth Amendment guarantees that no person shall be deprived of life, liberty, or property without due process of law. These snatch and grab operations are against the Constitution and against the law. The 14th Amendment, added after the Civil War, extended the promise to state governments, ensuring equal rights and protections under the law to all citizens. So it doesn't matter if you are Black, white, Asian, Pacific, European, or you're from a little old country called Trinidad and Tobago. You are protected in these United States. In summary, the military's oath is a solemn promise rooted in our nation's legal principles. From 1775 on, it stands as guard over both our nation's rights and our state's rights. When we honor our military, we honor their defense, not just the land or the flag, but to liberty, justice, and the Constitution itself. And a final point, I have a message for a certain few people. Nancy Mace, Lindsey Graham, Ralph Norman, Tim Scott, William Timmons, and any member of Congress who thinks that wonderful people such as Jamie Harrison, James Clyburn, Jasmine Crockett, Al Green, or Alex Padilla. Defend them, defend the Constitution, and do your job. Stand up to enemies, both foreign and domestic, whether it's Elon Musk or the wannabe tyrant. Remember this, Republicans and anybody who supports him, elections do have consequences. Tick-tock, you're on the clock.
My name is Courtney Huey. I'm a proud American, a Southern woman, a mother, and a combat veteran. I served in Operation Iraqi Freedom from 2003 to 2004 with the 151st Signal Battalion out of Greenville. We were stationed, yeah, good for them. We were stationed at log-based sites in Baghdad. It was right outside the airport, nicknamed Mortaritaville because we were the second most attacked site during that time period and survived 70 mortar rounds. So I'm not just speaking in metaphors up here, like I've actually been there. I'm talking about waking up in Baghdad, and at 20 years old, I was also 20 when I went in. Well, I was 17 when I joined, but 20 overseas, with mortars raining down, having voluntarily handed over a life I had not even started yet to a government that's made it really hard to be proud of that sacrifice. And after all the work that veterans have done before me, here we go again, fighting our own country for the benefits that we've earned. And I say this to make one thing clear: soldiers will never bow to a king. And I've kept this same energy ever since. After the military, I opened my own real estate business just because I wanted freedom and because I didn't really have a choice. I was tired of answering to people that didn't earn my respect, and so I built something on my own terms so I would not have to ask for permission to live a life I'd fought for. So you fast forward to this year, and this is a true story. Right at Memorial Day weekend, I was at my niece's graduation. Emotions are already running high, and of course I was late, which ironically, I did not keep from the military. As I scanned the crowd for a seat, the national anthem came on. And without thinking, I did what my body's been trained to do since I was a kid at Saturday night NASCAR races, and again in uniform. I stopped, turned towards the flag, put my hand over my heart, rigid, stoic, tradition, pride, valor, honor. All of those things washed over me. But then something hit me very hard. I felt forgotten, unimportant, discarded. And I looked at the flag and thought, man, that piece of cloth does not represent me anymore. It's gonna make me cry. Tears welled up, my hand almost dropped, and my blood pressure skyrocketed. Was I really about to disrespect this flag that I once wore on my sleeve, the one that I fought for and the one that united us? I've been through enough therapy now to know when I'm spiraling, so right there, during a song barely 90 seconds long, I had to find my way back. So I thought about my brothers and sisters in arms, the ones who didn't come home, those of us who did but not whole, and I stood tall for them, and for the Constitution, and for the rights we all earned. When I got home in 2004, I struggled to adapt, and I've been rated disabled through the VA, courtesy of getting, for PTSD and a knee injury, courtesy of getting pinned between two cars on duty. And while the VA usually improves year by year, this year has been different. Appointments are harder to get. Mental health care, you're looking at a 6-month wait. Privacy is a joke. I've heard directly from VA employees who are questioning if they can even stay because of fear of their beliefs, the politics, and the erasure of the DEI programs that were built to protect us. You can't just hand off veteran care to a private sector and call it a solution. Private doctors don't know how to handle PTSD, military sexual trauma, burn pit exposure, or moral injury, not like the VA providers do. You risk misdiagnosis, over-medication, longer wait times, and losing the kind of care that only veterans can give each other. Because the VA isn't just hospitals, it's peer support, veteran centers, vocational rehab, addiction programs, suicide prevention, all designed by and for our veterans. Good luck finding a civilian therapist who genuinely understands why a combat veteran flinches at fireworks. We earn this care. We're not lab rats. We're not an experiment. Real patriotism means accountability. It means sacrifice. It means you don't get to hide behind supporting troops while gutting the systems we rely on to survive. Trump's military parade today is not about honoring veterans. It's about feeding his ego. It's cosplay for kings. But this isn't a monarchy. This is a democracy, and democracy does not march in formation behind a throne. So today, we will show up, we will speak against all enemies, foreign and domestic, and we remind this country that we are not props, we are not pawns, we are the people, and we are not bowing down. Thank you.
These are not people promoting violence and domination over their neighbors. They're not people who hate our country. To the contrary, they're singing the national anthem and songs about peace, home, and serving in the military. They're quoting oaths to uphold and protect the Constitution. In fact, one of the things that stood out to me was the signs. When I attended Sean Foyt's worship protests last October, all the signs were about reigning, dominion, being under God, or submitting to a Christian nationalist agenda. But at the No Kings event, the signs included messages like, "Give me your tired, your poor, your huddled masses, yearning to breathe free. We are the people, the oppressed, the discriminated, the hungry for justice. The Constitution does not give you a crown. Protect First Amendment rights. Real power uplifts, not rules. You can't love the culture and not support the people. When cruelty looks normal, compassion looks radical. So all lives still matter? Asking for a child in a cage. Y'all means all. Stop pretending your racism is patriotism. Your senses detect truth. Don't let their words manufacture doubt." Or my favorite one, "It's so bad even introverts are here." One of the signs was a quote by former President Jimmy Carter. It read, "America did not invent human rights. It's the other way around. Human rights invented America." Of course, our Native American and Black neighbors might offer some qualifications on the Carter quote, but my point is that the signs were overwhelmingly pleased to include, value, and care for all of our neighbors. For a religion that follows someone who said we're supposed to love our neighbors as ourselves, you'd think Christians would be the ones overwhelmingly in support of this event. Instead of supporting the wannabe emperor, this event was protesting. It's not violence to call for your neighbors to be included, valued, and cared for. It's not violent to call for compassion. But we live in a Christendom of hierarchy and empire where authority and submission are the relational dynamics in every major conservative evangelical denomination, where justice defined by violent retribution against human bodies makes cruelty the norm. So of course compassion looks radical. It's always been radical because the way of the world is power, or as Trump puts it, a power with a heavy force. And unfortunately, there was violence on Saturday as an evangelical homeschooling independent charismatic pastor named Vance Bolter is the suspect in the investigation of impersonating a police officer and assassinating Minnesota State Representative Melissa Hortman and her husband, as well as shooting Senator John Hoffman and his wife. Soon after his name became public, many on the right began saying he had close ties to Minnesota Governor Tim Walz. The reality is that Bolter was appointed by former Minnesota Governor Mark Dayton to a workforce development advisory board. Then, likely given his history on the board, Walz reappointed him in 2019. This board is made up of around 60 members. It's not a political board, and none of them would have any real access to the governor. In fact, Bolter was no Democrat. To the contrary, his friend and roommate David Carlson said Bolter voted for Trump and was a strong supporter of Trump. Some have said Bolter's wife interned for Walz. But the Minnesota Star-Tribune found out this wasn't true, that the intern in question was married to someone else. Another conspiracy came from X's AI bot Grok, which said Bolter's wife was a doctor for Centricare, but the Jennifer Bolter who works for Centricare is not the Jennifer Bolter who is married to Vance Bolter. She's married to another doctor named Chris Bolter, and she never even interned for Governor Walz. But for those on the right, none of these facts matter. They're simply reacting out of impulse. Elon Musk posted that the far left is murderously violent and quote-tweeted someone saying the left murdered Hortman. Mike Cernovich suggested Walz ordered the assassination to send a message. Laura Loomer said Walz's goons are now assassinating lawmakers who support legislation Walz opposes. Again, like most of what the right says these days, there's no proof of any of this. The proof that is offered turns out to be false, and the allegations turn out to be projection. So who is Bolter? We know that he was a business owner and a pastor. According to his bio, he attended Christ for the Nations Institute in Dallas, Texas. One writer on Substack posted a picture in the Christ for Nations lobby that says everyone ought to pray at least one violent prayer each day. The school has ties to the Pentecostal Latter-Rain movement. The new Apostolic Reformation leader Dutch Sheets studied there in the 1970s, and he went on to teach there. As Matthew D. Taylor points out on a recent episode of the Straight White American Jesus podcast, this is where much of the New Apostolic Reformation's dominion theology was formed that led to the January 6th insurrection. Of course, Bolter is not a major figure by any means. As someone who focused his attention half on business and half on ministry, he's never gotten really that successful at either. But he most definitely has been theologically and spiritually formed by the independent charismatics of the New Apostolic Reformation who are promoting a Christian takeover of the entire country. His sermons that are available online focus on abortion, not simply as a moral wrong, but as child sacrifice to demons that opens up portals for demons to rule over the United States. He also focuses on anti-transgender messages and claims that apostles and prophets are being sent by God to change the church. All of this bears the fingerprints of New Apostolic Reformation theology. Bolter also had a hit list of 70 names made up of Democratic officials and abortion providers. With all of this happening, Trump moved ahead with his parade, featuring 7,000 soldiers, 150 Army vehicles, and over 60 helicopters or planes at a cost of around $45 million. The parade coincided with the birthday of the Army, but it also fell on Trump's birthday. And while White House officials tried to downplay the idea that Trump wanted to give himself a $45 million birthday present on the taxpayer's dime, J.D. Vance couldn't help but mention it.
It is, of course, the birthday of the President of the United States, and happy birthday, Mr. President.
Then the crowd sang happy birthday to Trump. At the end of the day, Saturday was indeed a day of violence and mayhem, where people were stirring up strife. But the strife being stirred up is coming from Trump and his supporters. And if Vance Bolter is guilty of these crimes, the violence and mayhem was caused by a Trump supporter and an independent charismatic pastor who was formed by the very people we've been warning about here for years. The violence and mayhem happening is due to those who view the world through the lens of hierarchy and power, who wage war physically and spiritually against those who won't submit. The protesters on No King's Day may look like radicals if you're watching their chants with the impulsive assumptions about them that you're being fed from the right. But calling for the inclusion and valuing of all human beings only stirs up strife from the perspective of supremacists who posture themselves over their neighbors. For those who are oppressed, it looks like liberation. And perhaps it was best said in the sign at the rally I attended in Greenville, South Carolina's Unity Park. When cruelty looks normal, compassion looks radical. That's it for today. Thank you for listening. Please like, subscribe, and rate us on your favorite podcast platform, and we'll be back with another episode on Thursday.
This has been another change-making conversation from Baptist News Global. The episode you've just heard is part of a special podcast series titled Highest Power, Church and State. Be sure to follow BNG Daily at baptistnews.com. and subscribe to get notifications about future episodes. Baptist News Global is a national nonprofit news service that is independent, free, and faithful. B&G is supported by readers and listeners like you. Learn more at baptistnews.com.